Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Construct Canada and Etobicoke Ironworks Limited, I welcome you to the first of its kind seminar, 3 Women Who Will Change Your Life, a panel on the increasing role of women in the construction industry. In 2006, according to Statistics Canada, women represented approximately 4% of the construction trades, 7.9% of construction managers, 10.5% of estimators, 20.3% of engineering inspectors and regulatory officers, and 34.6% of health and occupational safety inspectors. The following year, in 2007, women accounted for 47% of the total Canadian labor force, and by 2008, that number almost doubled to 88.9%. Hello. My name is Lynn Hardy, and I am sales manager of one of the 3 divisions at Etobicoke Ironworks, and I started in the construction industry in 1982. I am one of your moderators today, and it is a pleasure to introduce to you my co-moderator, Elizabeth Arujo, Etobicoke Ironworks Marketing Communications Coordinator. Elizabeth and I have been working together at Etobicoke Ironworks for over 10 years. You are about to hear 3 inspiring stories from 3 amazing and prominent women in the industry who will be our speakers for today and have kindly volunteered their time to be with us this afternoon. The 3 topics they will be touching on are as follows: Managing Work-Home Balance by Marissa McTesney, Perspectives of Women Working in Construction by Mary Lawson, Young Women's Choice of Careers in the Construction Industry by Martha George. I once read that everyone who plays a part in our lives offers something we might learn. Other people can be our mirrors, reflecting our better and worse qualities. They can help us to work through conflicts from the past that were never resolved. They can act as catalysts, activating parts of ourselves that need to rise on the surface so that we can attend to them. Others can learn from us as well. We are all connected. That is our great strength as women in this industry. I will consider the possibility that my teacher or my mirror stands before me. Separate reeds are weak and easily broken, but bound together, they are strong and hard to tear apart. From an unknown author. Our goal is to inspire, educate, and inform throughout this seminar, in the hopes that if ever we have stumbling blocks in our personal and professional journey, that these blocks be turned to stepping stones instead. In saying that, may I introduce to you one of our catalysts. I am proud and honored to introduce to you our first speaker. She is the happy, successful businesswoman who can swing a hammer. A woman who turned a small filing cabinet in the corner of her house into a multi-million-dollar industry. A woman who had the courage and confidence to pitch her idea to the dragons in CBC's Dragon's Den in 2008. She is the founder and president of Moxie Trades Limited, a company that designs and distributes women's workwear. Please help me welcome our first guest speaker, the pink work boot lady, Marissa McTesney.
Thank you very much. How could you not be happy in this cupcake dress? Thank you very much for having me. My business started about 6 years ago now. I can't believe it's actually been that long, and I'm actually still in business. I used to not, people would say, can you come and speak? And I'd say, well, how far out is it? Because I'm not sure I'm still going to be in business. I mean, that's how scary it was for me, really, since day one. But I'm happy to say, I am still in business, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. Today's topic is women that can change your lives. So I hope that, you are able to take something away from this. I am going to share with you what changed mine. I did decide to ditch my high heels for work boots. And I had read about an article in a newspaper, it might have been the Toronto Star, and it was about a program for women in construction at the Burlington Centre for Skilled Trades. And I cried when I read the article. Now, my son was about a year old, and I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? I'm not sure. Data management just doesn't really float my boat. I just don't care how computers work. I just want to turn them on and have them do what they're supposed to do. So here I was selling this, to commercial customers. So I really wanted to try to figure out what that was. And in doing my own self-discovery, it was really just reflection. I ended up writing a book for my son. And my philosophy is dream big, think the impossible, love passionately, and give generously. And I truly believe those words. And I thought, well, I just can't go back. I can't drive 3 hours a day. It's not living what I want to teach him. And so when I read this article and I started to cry, I thought, well, who has that reaction over a newspaper article? This must be what I want to do. So I had to convince my mother to come and take care of my kids. Now, I knew I was going to have another child, so, I hurried that one up. And I have 2 kids. My husband's there, so he can tell you it's the truth. And I knew I couldn't swing hammers and be 8 months pregnant. So I had my daughter, and I was also able to, when I had her, I was inspired to do the artwork for the book. So it's like a Hallmark card. Nobody go out, and go to Chapters looking for this thing. It's really a Hallmark card for my kids, and it was my gift to them about accomplishing something and carrying something through. So I read this article, and I took the program, and it was the WIST program, and it was sponsored by the Ontario Women's Directorate. And it was a 6-week process, and you had to climb ladders, swing a hammer. You cannot hit a nail when somebody's watching you. It's a fact. So you've got 120 women, trying to get into this course where only 20 women are going to get in, and we had to do really silly things. But, I also was the one at Home Depot. When Home Depot was open 24 hours a day, I needed it because while my husband was sleeping, whatever I messed up in the middle of the night, I'd run and try and fix it before he woke up in the morning. I did not know that you needed to turn the plumbing off before you were going to replace a tap. I mean, that's where we started with, right? So I thought before, I want to be Debbie Travis. I'm a faux finisher. I want to do finished carpentry. Give me a Venetian plaster, give me some tape, and give me a wall. So that was really my goal. But I thought before I walk into women's homes, doing what I want to do, I should learn how to do it properly. So I took the program, and it was honestly so thrilling. And the diversity of the women in the group was also really. It was shocking to me, and it was surprising. Now, and I'll tell you about the women in a second, but on the first day of the program, we need safety gear. So we're all given $100, and we all went to the ISACO. It's no longer an ISACO, it's now the Work Authority. But we all bought men's work boots. And I thought, well, what are we doing? What are we wearing? Why are we wearing men's work boots? Well, when I asked the store manager, I said, do you have any pink work boots? And I was just being kind of goofy. Everybody was really serious. And she said, you know what, I get asked all the time. So it really made me, think about who are the women in the industry, and should I give up my 6-figure salary at IBM to go swing a hammer and be Debbie? I'm not going to get my own TV show. So is this really viable? So reaching out and finding other women in the trades was really hard for me. And I thought, I was leaving this job, I was leaving the security of IBM, and I had a family to raise. So, there was 2 things happening. I was conflicted by the industry, and then I was conflicted by, well, why aren't women who love shoes wearing work boots for women? And they weren't fitting right. Everybody was getting blisters. Yeah, they were ugly, but that really wasn't the core of my objective. I wanted pink. I wanted to scream into the industry. So I have her here. So here she is. This is Betsy. Look, I'll do this. So you may hate it, and I totally get it. I wanted a pink work boot. I wanted to scream. I feel like if you want to make a statement, you cannot whisper, you must scream in order to be heard. So I wanted to enter a work site, and people go, oh, there's a chick on site. Yes, there is. And now can I have my saw and get to the job at hand? So it just made me feel empowered. Now, I know a lot of people, my instructors, I told them my cute idea because it was just a cute idea 6 years ago. They thought I was absolutely crazy. And I sourced the factory. I was up at night. I was working with overseas, so I'd go to school, come home, be a mom, put the kids to bed, and then I would log on to my computer, that Walmart cabinet beside my bed, And I don't know why I did this, but I said to the factory, I'm going to sell these products to Home Depot, so can you guys make me some specs? And so they said, okay. And I'm thinking, looking at my husband, like, do you believe this? I'm going to have to sell these to Home Depot. Well, would you know that I did? And I don't know how that happened, but Annette Verschuren was the president of Home Depot at the time. And when I got these to concept, they were pink men's work boots. And she just loved them. And so they gave me my first opportunity, and that's really what launched the work boot business. So I wanted to create this pink work boot. I wanted to scream into the industry, but my instructors were nervous about it because they said, you know, we've been working all these years to be credible, to be seen as our male counterpart, and then you're going to come in and put pink on it. Like, I don't know how we feel about it. And I said, but the whole point is you can be who you are and I can be who I am. And that's the luxury of the world that we live in today. I can stay home and raise my kids, and I can go to work, and I can swing a hammer, and I can sell computers. It doesn't matter. There are no rules. So what I know is I want pink work boots, and what the other thing I know, just through doing my statistics and my research on Industry Canada, is what are women wearing today? And when I look at just, you know, right from engineering to swimming hammers to holding the stop sign, women were wearing men's work boots, and that's about 50% of working Canadians need safety at some point in their career, and 50% of them are women. You know, whether they do it 100% of the time or they have to go on site for 10 minutes to, you know, as a project manager. So I realized it was a viable opportunity, and, you know, at the same time, 6 years ago, we were listening to all the statistics coming down saying, you know, we're importing people outside of our Canadian border to do the jobs that we can do ourselves. And so thank goodness for that. That's why they had the WIST program. They were trying to incent, you know, youth and women to get into the industry. Well, that same statistic is today. It absolutely exists today. And now from being in the work boot business, you know, my worst 2 years in business is when my business was about work boots. So yes, I went on Dragon's Den, and I am partners with Brett Wilson, thank goodness. He certainly helped me ride 2009. That was kind of a scary year. But those years that were the hardest for me is when it was about selling product and selling the boot and negotiating deals with retailers. As soon as I went back to the root of why I started this business, it's about the women who wear them. It is not about the work boots. So now that I've gone back to that, there is such a diversity from coast to coast on the needs of women and what they're doing. And the pink work boots. So, you know, if you're not a fan, I think we sold 6,000 pairs last year. So I think it's that second pair of boots in the cupboard, and they are 100% about making a statement. They are certainly they're not the most comfortable pair of work boots that Moxie Trades has created or sells, but they're probably the best looking. And I wanted them to be, you know, a really strong men's heavy pink work boot. These are one of my originals actually that I have up here. So this is the product that's brought me to be able to do the things that I'm trying to do. The other thing I learned when I took the program is that the group of women that took them were very diverse. They were single mothers, they had come from abused homes, they were like myself and just wanted to follow a passion. And the one thing that I learned that I found disturbing was that they were willing to settle for less pay than a man. And they were willing to take any job, even if it wasn't the right job. And so 5 years ago, what I had tried to do is put the Home Depot Services Division with our school so that they coordinate really good apprenticeship programs for those women. Because the jobs are out there, we already know that, so women are getting trained, so it's about getting that right fit. And so from coast to coast, I have been able to see this, right from the oil fields out west and out east. I just came back from out east, and the Irving Shipyards, they just won the biggest contract ever in Canada. It's a $25 billion contract. And it's not about creating jobs, it's about creating careers. So, you know, putting all the pieces together should be really simple. It's just, you know, the plus in the middle. All the bits are there. So that has become my mission, to try and really put it all together. So why I'm here today is just to talk about that, the industry. I've had a lot of people, you know, the pink has been really provocative. And a lot of people have said to me, well, what's it like swinging a hammer on site? And I think no different than being in a boardroom. No different than being at an airport at 7 o'clock in the morning. No different than walking down the escalators at this trade show today. It is predominantly men that I work with. There are very few women that are financing my business, that are making my work boots for me, that are buying my work boots from me. Really funny story. Like, there's women buyers out there, and you would say, well, have you tried on the men's work boots that you're buying? Well, yes, of course I have to. It's my job. I'm at Mark's Work Wearhouse. And the guys are like, Lou's been doing the job forever. And I said, have you ever put our work boots on? And he just looked at me like I had shot him in the head. And I said, but we've been wearing yours. But it's just that mindset. They wouldn't dare put on a women's work boot. But yet we've been doing it for 50 years. And so it's about, just that mind shift, really. So when I talk about business and success, it's really about finding your passions and pursuing it. It has been so many scary roads. Like I said, I didn't book these speaking engagements because I thought, what if I'm not in business? Today, I feel really confident that I'm going to stay in business. We've sold quite a few boots, so we're pretty good. And I can see what's happening with women in the industry. And I hope, I really hope that it's changing for the better. It's certainly getting easier for women to be in the trades. And there are, a couple of different secrets that I've used. I don't know if they're secrets, but it's things that I've learned over the last 6 years as to what will give you success. Success to me is not financial. It is 100%, are you happy when you wake up in the morning? And I wasn't always happy with this business. I did put my family second. I put everything second because Moxie Trends had to sell work boots. So reprioritizing my life and really that whole dream big thing, it's the whole picture. It is the vision board. It is how you want to raise your children. It's the philosophy that you want to carry on in your own life. It's also realizing, you've got to create a plan. Now, I have had so many plans, and I think this is the direction I'm going to take. I'm really definitive about it. And I get whatever I want because people go, oh, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. And then when it doesn't work, I think it's all over. I've also learned it's never all over. It's okay to fail. And I used to say to my business partners, okay, well, I'm on plan C. Then a few months later, I'm like, come on, E. I'm like, there's only 26 letters in the alphabet. Am I going to get this right? What happens at Z? But it's the reality of it. It is really forgiving. Business is really forgiving. And if you have the correct team around you and the support, truly you can do anything. And thank goodness for the women who I have connected with in business. Because Tammy, you're here, Tammy is the president of KWIC. KWIC is the Canadian Association of Women in Construction, and you'll see the website in your program. I think it's also going to be up on a couple of the slides here. But there are really great groups of women that will give you that hand up. And in turn, you got to also do the same for those coming in, following in your footsteps. So I want you to dream about what you're going to do, really deliberate planning, executing it, following your dreams, really do it. If it's really what you want to do, there's days we're broke, but we're so happy because I have a billboard, or we're just so happy because a woman said I got my boots today and I'm so thrilled, I'm safe, I'm comfortable, I'm safe, and I feel good in them. I've just started to realize it's not the product. Women are wearing pink because they're wrapped in Moxie. Moxie is the ability to face fear with spirit and courage. So what I'm doing is I'm arming them, and I'm just starting to really see the strength of that support, and that it's okay to be who you are and do what it is, whatever it is you want to do. And you've always got to measure your success as well to ensure that you are on track. One quote that I always like to leave and say is, courage is fear that has said its prayers. So just as the definition of Moxie is the ability to face fear with spirit and courage, this one quote has carried me through the last 6 years, because I know I can have the courage to do anything if I have the faith that I'm doing the right thing on a daily basis. Everything you do is based on your intent, and it will always work out well if the intent is there to do your very best. So for me, it's a very simple formula. So I'm going to leave you with that. And I hope that everybody does find their Moxie, and I dare you to do so. Thank you.
She has been part of the home building industry for more than 30 years. Mary Lawson is now president of Dale Rose Country and past and first female president of both Calgary and Toronto's Home Builders Associations. A member of the Foundations Board with George Brown College, where she provides advice to the college and education opportunities in the residential construction industry. She has also participated in Women in Motion, which is a mentorship program that assists young women in making effective career choices. Regarding trade shortages and education, Mary has said, "We must have a strong link between industry and educators." Her active roles with the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum and the Building Industry and Land Development Association most certainly demonstrates her belief and efforts towards this goal. Please help me welcome Mary Lawson.
Well, thank you, and it's certainly a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. You're a hard act to follow. What I have to share with you, and you'll notice there's quite a common link in what we have to say, except that my story started quite a few years ago, and 30 years was very kind. Thank you very much. When I was asked to speak to you, it was suggested that I talk about my career path and the stepping stones and the various turns in that path that have influenced where I am and who I am today. It's difficult to write about yourself. It's hard to believe that other people really have an interest in your life. We have a tendency not to look at our own lives and see them as overly important. But I have been a pioneer. I've been very much a pioneer in the residential construction industry, and I want to share some of that story with you. I was the Canadian Home Builders Association, and also the first woman president for Toronto, now called BUILD, and the first one in Calgary. It's very hard to believe that it took over 75 years for this to happen at the national level, and even longer in Toronto. I think all of us in this room today agree that construction is no longer for men. There are lots and lots and lots of us, of women, in the industry today, and the opportunities for us are endless. Today you'll find women in every area of the business, from framing, shingling roofs, to plumbing, electrical contracting, not to mention marketing strategies, watching the bottom line. They are now taking the helm of some of the largest of the land development and building companies, and flexing their entrepreneurial muscles and working as independent businesses. Did you know that 4 or 5 out of every business launched are started by women? It's very exciting to me to see the interest that women are taking in non-traditional careers. I'm a little bit envious that I can't start over again with this. There's so many more options and help, much more readily available than when I first became involved in this industry. I was reading an article on small business recently that I'm sure many of you saw as well, but the point that caught my attention was the statement that said the number of female-run incorporated businesses more than doubled during the last decade, with some 821,000 self-employed women contributing $18 billion to the Canadian economy, and I'm sure that's gone up since you arrived, Melissa. Canadian firms run by women create new jobs at 4 times the rate of the national average, collectively providing more jobs than the Canadian top 100 companies combined. That's pretty amazing. And yet we seem to still have this wall that we feel we have to break through, or ceiling, glass ceiling that we have to break. Just like the foundation of a house, the technology is constantly changing, and the ways of achieving the end result are based on many, many different systems. But isn't that what our lives are about? I'll bet many, if not most of you in this room, have made decisions, probably countless decisions if you're like me, and taken directions that have had repercussions, sometimes exactly what you planned on, but many times not quite so. But that should not mean that the decision was wrong, but rather that a further decision is necessary, or a further plan is necessary, to build on what went before. That's why I want to talk to you today about options and flexibility. Some of us may know exactly what we want to be or to do, and for some of us, it's kind of from week to week. For many, experiences, education, and the people you meet will unlock doors to career opportunities you never dreamed of. And because we may not know exactly what paths life will offer, we need to be able to see the options and the opportunities as they present themselves. You may wonder how I came to be president of the Canadian Home Builders Association, representing some 7,000 plus companies within the residential construction industry in Canada. How have I also come to be vice president of a home building company and sit on several corporate and government boards of directors? Would you have ever guessed that my career started in the fashion industry? When I was a teenager, finishing up high school, and I was part of a family that moved many times, I was pretty tired of school. It was third high school. I'd had kind of enough. I almost went directly to Teachers College because that's what most of my girlfriends were doing. But it really wasn't for me. I decided to go to what was then called Ryerson Polytechnical Collegiate to study fashion and interior design. I did a little modeling. I made some money teaching modeling and self-improvement to teenage girls. I even taught businessmen how to dress for success. But my fashion career was cut short when I met my husband-to-be. He was a carpenter. Before long, I was married, living in Kitchener, Ontario, and installing aluminum siding on houses. A far cry from my dreams of the fashion capitals of the world, but the beginning of something very, very important to me, for me. Now, you may have to remember that I'm talking about the 1960s. That's why 30 years was very kind. My husband owned an aluminum siding contracting business, and abandoning my own aspirations to marry and raise a family was pretty much expected in those days. Soon we had 2 daughters and a business I chose to be very much part of in every way. While nailing aluminum siding on houses may not seem glamorous, I was developing an understanding of the business and construction. I was able to apply what I had learned in the fashion industry, the fashion retailing, to this new endeavor. I learned to run the sales, the marketing, the financial side of things, and soon we were winning some fairly large contracts with bigger builders. Although I certainly didn't set out on this course, I did take advantage of the opportunities as they arose. I had always respected tradespeople, people who were able to create and contribute with their hands and their special skills, and I took great satisfaction in doing it myself. Certainly the skills I was learning on the business side would prove to be invaluable as my life progressed. Through our business contacts, I was asked by a couple of clients to renovate some buildings. It was another opportunity to expand my horizons, and I jumped at it. I'd like to say that this was a tremendous success, but in truth, I lost a lot of money on the first few jobs. And perhaps you might say that I should have seen this as a sign to shift gears, but I thought about what my father used to tell me, time and time and time again. Don't give up. Finish what you start. He preached staying power and patience. Those have been my most important words over the years. I drew on all of my experience, fashion and interior design, which all of a sudden became an asset to me. My newly acquired building skills and my business skills, of course. I learned from my mistakes and managed to get it right the next time. I ended up converting some wonderful old houses in the Kitchener-Waterloo area into commercial spaces, and I drove by a couple of them not very long ago. Dentist's office, beauty salons, restaurants, and some just plain offices. I learned how important it is to believe in yourself and the abilities that you have, something that many women have a tendency to struggle with. Did I have all the skills I needed? All the knowledge I needed? Of course I didn't. But I was learning, and I had faith in myself. My husband's business had grown into a home building business over the years, but suddenly a dramatic downturn in the Ontario economy meant that there weren't buyers for our houses. We were broke. My husband saw an opportunity in the West and left me with the children to sell the house and pack up. It took nearly a year before I was able to take my daughters to join my husband in Calgary in the hopes that the situation there would be better. Unfortunately, not only was the market weakening in Calgary as well, but it wasn't long before my husband and I went our separate ways. This posed an interesting challenge. I had 2 almost teenage daughters to support, and I had arrived in Calgary without a job. Some things aren't easy. But what did I have? I had a variety of skills. I understood construction by now. I knew about business. I had also learned to do business with others. I had learned that to do business with others, you had to learn to communicate. Learning how to talk to others, sell yourself, and work with them is essential, and I have been developing those skills throughout every stage of my career so far, and I haven't quit yet. Through my network of contacts from Ontario, I was able to become involved in selling condominiums in the Calgary market, which eventually led to a senior sales and marketing manager with a very large home building development company. It was at this time that I first got involved with the Calgary Home Builders Association. I started to attend their meetings to hear what other people had to say about the industry I was working in, and I realized what a difference this networking made to my job and to my enthusiasm. It also provided many industry-run education opportunities. Not only was I learning from my peers, but I made many, many contacts that helped me to sell more homes and provide better service to my customers. I gave back to the association by giving of my time in committees, and eventually I was elected president. In fact, as I mentioned, the first president in Canada. That was 1988. It was Olympic year in Calgary. Being the president of any of Canada's home building associations is a volunteer position. My everyday job continued. However, as president, I represented Calgary at national conferences, expanding my horizons and my network of colleagues all the way across Canada and from around the world. It was through this national exposure that I met the president of American Standard, the international plumbing products manufacturer. It is the largest producer of toilets and sinks and faucets worldwide. You can ask them, they're here at the show. This big company had decided that it needed to change its business dealings with its customers, particularly home builders. They asked me to help to lead this direction for them. Suddenly, I was a national marketing manager for a huge company with a big paycheck, and I was helping to restructure the way they did their business. If I had not gotten involved with the association and volunteered my time, I would never have been exposed to this opportunity. I believe that when you give of yourself, the opportunities find you. I think you were saying that too. For 5 years, I flew all across Canada managing American Standard's sales and marketing until their corporate direction took one more turn. As was the case of many Ontario-based manufacturers, the 80-year-old plant was closed. It was time for another change. I was back where it all began. I was back in Toronto. I restarted my consulting business and quickly signed on a client, again based on my experience and the contacts. Thank goodness for contacts. Today I'm vice president and general manager of that company, Dale Rose Country. I totally manage the affairs of this highly respected custom building company. The company has evolved from a Toronto-based production builder and developer to a boutique-style custom builder, and we do renovations as well in the Orangeville-Caledon area. We pride ourselves on good design, carefully suited to our customers' needs, and setting the bar on quality, technical leadership, and particularly these days, environmental responsibility. We've also tried to make even our most basic plans universally accessible. You never know what circumstances may happen in a family. This has been a huge leap of faith for the owner of the company, who was used to red brick boxes with little or no allowance for customer choice. Now, needless to say, This evolution is not all my doing. Market pressures, consumer education have had a huge effect on the residential construction industry. With internet and big box retailers, home shows, home improvement television, Debbie Travis, the consumer now comes to us with such a great deal of knowledge. How did I come to represent and be the voice of the home building industry in the different parts of the country at the national level? Did the builders on the various boards of directors at various times suddenly decide that it was high time to have a woman represent them? Did they think it would be politically correct? Not a chance. There was only one reason that a woman finally had the opportunity to lead the organization. I'd earned my stripes. I had proven that I knew the business and that I had the overall interests of the industry at heart. The group was confident that I could carry the important messages and concerns of an industry that has been the backbone of the Canadian economy to the various levels of governments and get results. I have to tell you, it took almost 10 years of involvement at the national level to be allowed to break through that glass ceiling. How and where did I learn the skills which have allowed me to take advantage of these opportunities and carry them through? I think that in reality, the message here is that any skill learned has an application somehow, somewhere. We should never consider that any skill or experience has no value. How was I to understand that retail merchandising and fashion would have a value as a builder and as a renovator? And the ability to speak to people and present an idea that is of benefit to a group is an ability that evolves from confidence in what you have to present. When I married and began helping my husband in learning to install aluminum siding, I know my mother wondered what value my education had had. But years later, I shared some stories with her about the meetings in Ottawa, or told her about breakfast with the Governor of the Bank of Canada, where I discussed the home building industry and the impact that it was having on the Canadian economy. And she would smile and understand that all the bits of training from earliest childhood help to shape our abilities and give us the tools and the strength to do the jobs that life puts before us. Being receptive to the doors that open, being flexible, and understanding that our skills and knowledge may be applied in many, many different ways to a variety of positions, and what will continue to give women an edge on anything that they choose to tackle. Very few of us today will stay in the same jobs for 30 years, the way our grandparents did. In fact, very few of our grandmothers worked outside the home. But we also know that they were the real backbone and the strength of those households. When I was growing up, I loved to hear the stories of my grandmother who made hats. She was a milliner for the ladies in the community. And my father, as quite a little boy, with this wagon, would deliver those hats to the ladies. And then on the way home, he would collect bottles and enough to get a piece of licorice at the corner store. No wonder I grew up with entrepreneurial thinking. The bottom line today is that the decisions are absolutely endless, so long as you keep the options open and take advantage of the opportunities as they arise. Sometimes it will mean doing things that you are not paid for, but the rewards come in other ways. Some of my greatest opportunities are the direct result of my volunteer work and the networking that has resulted from that. Networking is critical to business success. It is about building strong relationships, and if it is done right, the support and the successes are forthcoming. I believe that women tend to truly care about every aspect of business: the culture, the creativity, the caring, and the respect for fellow workers and peers. We achieve because we think far beyond the bottom line. Business is not only about cost and profit. What can we do today to lay the right foundation? As students, as teachers, business people, and entrepreneurs, the answer is the same. Build on a variety of experiences and influences, both from education and training perspectives, but also from life experiences. that you may encounter. Never close doors. With business and skills growth comes the need for balance and management. Put value on your other interests as well as the skills and training. Allow your true passions to guide your decisions. It is much easier to be successful if you love what you do. Make choices that are best for you. As you grow and become more comfortable with yourself, and believe me, that's a lifelong journey, you will feel more confident in taking that road less traveled. In business and political circles, we speak often of the benefits of public-private partnerships and the benefits derived from such partnerships. Accomplishments achieved based on shared objectives and mutually reinforced capacities. For our industry, for the residential industry, they open opportunity to broaden the range of choices for building of communities and housing consumers and providing choice. Is this not what our training and education and the building of networks is all about? I know it has been for me, and I am sure that many of you in this room would agree, based on your own experiences. That is what today is about. We are broadening our own understanding and experience by exchanging ideas with others with similar objectives. With effective cooperation between education and training, the public sector, and the private sector, we can unlock energies and build the capacities of all the participants to move forward, to solve the issues of the skills shortages in this country. Women can have opportunities that they didn't know were there and be the highly qualified workers who love what they do. To wrap up, I would just like to share with you a couple of the things that are happening at the Canadian Home Builders Association relative to education and training, and also at the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum. Recently in Ottawa, at the quarterly meetings of the CHBA, what they call the National Education and Training Committee, we met at Algonquin College. We discussed actions relative to a skilled labor force development for the residential construction industry, continuing professionalism of the industry, which means designation programs for builders and renovators. We shared information regarding course development initiatives and delivery issues for trades, supervisors, and builders. And we continue to address workplace health and safety needs for the industry. The meeting finished with a tour of the remarkable new facilities at Algonquin College, which have been built specifically for training in the residential industry, residential trades training, but also construction, new construction and renovation management. For the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, we have a conference coming up, which, if any of you are able to take advantage of, is certainly worthwhile. It's June of 2012, and it will be in Regina. And the theme is Apprenticeship Strategies for Success. And the discussion will revolve a lot around diversity, innovation, and engagement. And the conference is particularly targeting employers, because without employers, apprenticeship doesn't work. So it's the weak link in the system right across Canada. So that's the big challenge for the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum. As already mentioned, I'm quite involved at George Brown College. Love every minute of it. It's been very rewarding for me personally. I sat on the Board of Governors, now work on the Foundation Board. And if you're watching, there's huge construction activities happening for George Brown, a great new campus down on the waterfront. But Casa Loma, where I usually am involved, which is where the construction happens, is also about to get another major renovation. So watch and see. It's been great fun to be able to share my interests and my thoughts and my perspectives in the industry with the students and tell the stories, good ones and bad ones. I think the most important thing, and it's pretty much what you said, we have the opportunity to be involved in a very exciting industry, an industry that's constantly changing. I said to the girls before we came on today, I was tempted to start my comments today with, this is what my week's been all about. It's been constant change. Absolutely nothing went according to plan. Whatever your plan is in this industry, by 7 o'clock in the morning, it's probably changed. and certainly mine was changing all week long. But it is exciting, it is fun, and the opportunities for all of us are endless. Thank you.
Martha George was previously Vice President of the George Masonry Limited Company. She is a Gold Seal certified estimator, and in 2005 she joined Grand Valley's Construction Association and is currently the president. Martha is extremely active member on many boards and councils in Ontario, including the Canadian Construction Association and the Council of Ontario Construction Associations, as well as the Colleges of Ontario Network for Industry Innovation, Skills Canada, and various committees within each of these organizations. Needless to say, Martha is very well informed and well networked in our industry. Without further delay, please welcome Martha George.
That is not my high school picture. I know my colleagues say that all the time. Why don't you get a current picture? It is. It's current. I wasn't tired that day. So if women want to succeed in the industry, do what these two ladies said. They've given you all the secrets, and being the third speaker, it's kind of a tough act to follow. I really want to thank Elizabeth and Lynn for including me in this. This is really a privilege for me to have an opportunity to talk about what I love to do and the industry that I love, and that industry is construction. And it's really true that women haven't made great progress in the construction industry in senior management positions. The victories are very, very few and far between, but they really do exist. This industry, it is traditionally a male-dominated industry, as we've heard, and it's not really an industry that women have been attracted to. That's changing, and that's really good. And I think through education and through opportunities, there's a lot of barriers have been broken down. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the barriers that I've had, and this is not whining, this is just reality, because I want young women to see how far we've come and the opportunities that exist for you. There are many women in multinational firms that have done well, and that's because they've come from an engineering or architectural background, or possibly business management skills or financials. But typically from the trades, that ladder, it's hard to climb, and it's hard to get there. So getting ahead in any industry as a female is not easy. It's not just construction, it's any industry. You know what? I just wonder how tough it would be to be a mob boss female. I don't know if that would help, but man, I'm just, why is it that it's so tough? It just is. That wasn't in my notes, I just made that up. And in my mind, really, timing is everything. And timing is everything in your life. Where are you in your life right now? Are you ready to make the sacrifices that's required to get ahead? Maybe now is not your time. Maybe now is your learning time or your waiting time. Typically, women look after family, and I'm from that generation that did that. You look after your spouse, and then finally you look after yourself. And that's really where the timing comes in, and that's a little bit about what I want to share with you. And at my age and stage, I'm liberated. My kids are gone. My husband's business is successful, it's established, and I'm mature, and I've got confidence in myself, and I understand the industry. And I'm passionate about it, which is even better. Remember that life is a journey to be enjoyed, and it's really a learning process, no matter what age you are. The key, in my opinion, is really to establish your credentials early in the game. Continue to build on those credentials through learning, through education, through searching out opportunities that exist, and find your fit. Your fit can be far different than the fit of the person beside you, but what works for you? And be comfortable with that. So if you can do that, the rest, now it can kind of fall into place. And it can help you find where you should land. Remember that the construction industry, it's not really a sensitive industry. Trust me, it's not. So you need to leave your feelings at the door when you get involved. It's not a feely industry, but it's an industry that's based on fact. There's not really a lot of emotion that's considered when decisions are made on site. It requires a lot of problem-solving skills. Women that are on site trying to solve a problem with their male counterparts, we communicate differently. We come to conclusions differently. eventually get to the same answer, but we just take a different path to do it. And it's, you know, we just communicate differently. Don't let that frustrate you, but that was one of the challenges that I definitely had. But you know, it's not to say that emotion doesn't play a key role in our industry. It does, because it can really help develop the culture within companies. And when women are in the driver's seat, I think it's a much gentler company. It's a much more caring and concerning company, and it really does have an impact on the bottom line. Again, we're caregivers, we're mothers, we're daughters, we're partners. We set the moral code for our families, the disciplinary for our children, the schedulers of many projects and people. We have great attention to detail, strong communication and people skills. And, you know, we need to get it right. Right? We do. We need to get it right. And we get it. Like, we know what it takes. We just need to find somebody that will believe in them. So I don't really like to talk about myself a lot, but I want to sort of give you some references, because I think it's important for young women to know the opportunities that are available to you, and the challenges that other people have had and how they've overcome them. Because it's like, how did you do that? How did you get there? Well, I'm going to try to tell you that. My work experience, and I've had a variety of work experience. Right out of school, I got a job at a local radio and TV station. I was just so over my head. It was just amazing how overhead my head I was. But it was a great job. It was a very male-dominated industry, particularly in the management end of it. You know, I did end up getting a position as manager of it was the traffic. It's not like car traffic, it's different traffic. But opportunities that came up, they always went to my male counterparts, always. And the reason I finally said, why am I not getting this promotion? I'm qualified. Yeah, but you know what, I just was recently married, you're probably going to have a family, and we don't want to invest in it, you know, stop it. But that, to me, it really was, it has always bothered me, that whole notion or concept that you're going to have a baby and then what would happen. Well, how the hell do you think you got here? Sorry about that. So after 10 years of working there, and it was an amazing job, I still have very, very good friends that I worked with that were great mentors to me. Took a lot of night school courses, and you know, I didn't see an opportunity for me to go very far. CTV was being bought out, like that's way back when. A lot of changes happening. So I reinvented myself. I mean, if you don't like where you are or what you're doing, do something else. Find something else that you like to do. So I reinvented myself, and I took a position as a professional recruiter in an employment agency. This was a great opportunity for me to make a ton of money, to do something that I had never done before. But man, was I ever over my head in this one. It was really, it was tough. And you can just turn your camera off, because I'm going to say this. I worked for the biggest asshole on the planet. He was the worst guy I've ever, turn it back on, that I have ever worked for. He was the meanest, nastiest, most condescending person on the planet. And I'm being kind with the word that I just called him. But here I was. I had left this comfort zone that I was in a great job that I could have stayed for, probably gone with the buyout, and probably had my job forever. I had great friends that I had left. Here I was in this position. I really wanted to take on the challenge, but I was just so overwhelmed with what I was putting up with. But you know what? I figured I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to learn from it. So my ultimate revenge was like to make a ton of money from this guy, but which I did. And if I was him, I would have kissed the ground that I walked on, because I made him a truckload of money. He made way more than I did. But so then I had my first child, and you know, babies. If you have a baby, for some reason, it seems that the world is going to end, and you're kind of a commodity that's not any good anymore. He was amazed that I would choose to stay at home with a baby instead of working for him and putting up with his BS for 60 hours a week. Go figure. But I did learn from him, and I learned a very valuable lesson. And everybody, you learn lessons along the way, no matter what you're doing. And I learned how to treat people, and how to never treat anybody badly, how to never treat anybody that works for me or works with me badly. I've let people go. I've made changes in people's lives. I've told them, you know, maybe this is not your year to be here. Maybe you should be doing something else, but do it with dignity, because typically it's the deed, not the doer, that's the problem. So finished. You know, I've left this position. Now I have 3 kids. So again, another reinvention for me. I've always been very involved in my community, and I've always seen opportunity that can lead me to the next thing. And you know, I didn't always know what that next thing would be. And for young women in the crowd, you have that opportunity far greater than we had. You can really plan your career path out. I think I just kind of fumbled around, and I've always had amazing jobs. For some reason, I've always landed on my feet, but I think it's because I've always been connected, and I've always been passionate about what I did. So so 3 kids later, now I'm going through another reinvention, and I get into the construction industry. Now, just to reference this, my husband's been in the construction industry, part of a large family company. There's 8 boys in the family. The family before that had 12 kids, and they were all boys. He just has brothers, like there's just boys, boys, boys. It's a heavy male-dominated industry. So it was quite an interesting, I'm fairly strong and fairly outspoken coming into this group. And, you know, like they would all say, not a woman trying to change your life, it would be wreck your life. Because for them, that was, a woman coming into it was, you know, just a bit, it's, you know what I mean. It just would take them out of their comfort zone, because they were just not used to it. So, but I have a husband that is a tremendous guy with tremendous respect, has always seen me as an equal, and we've worked very, very well together. He had his expertise in the masonry end of it, I had mine in the business end of it, so together we were really, it was really a very good fit. But again, I was really over my head on this. We both respected each other's areas, but I remember going out to my first job site, and I got really prepared for it because I didn't know what I was supposed to do or say or whatever. But I got through it. I prepared myself. I made sure that I was armed with the knowledge to handle any of the obstacles, and that's my lesson to you. Be prepared. Always know what it is that you're going to be faced with. Again, if you're over your head, and you're drowning, it's a good time to gain some strength and find out how you're going to survive. I think being out of your comfort zone all the time is really important. Your attitude also plays a huge role in terms of your own perception of yourself and where you see yourself. If you're confident and you're willing to learn, you're passionate, you're eager, and you express a genuine interest in what you're doing, you probably won't fail. If you want to move into a management position, don't just wait for somebody to discover you, because you know what? It's not going to happen. You need to express that. You need to be forthcoming. Show your talents. Show what you can bring to a company that nobody else has got. Like, what's your uniqueness? Learn whatever you have to in order to hit that spot. How can you add real value to the company? So connect with experts in the industry. And again, bring something to the table that nobody else has got. That's always worked for me. Like, oh, never thought of that. That might be good. So, you know what? It might be easy for you to say, and we've grown our company and it's done very well. And it might be easy for you to say, well, you got in there because you were married, you married somebody, and you got on the back of that person. And that's true. I did. But you know what? It doesn't matter. None of that matters, because once you're there, you still have to prove who you are. You still have to have the knowledge. You still need to gain the respect. And it isn't how you get in. It's about how you handle it when you're there. That really makes the difference. I did have to work pretty hard at what I did. So I had to take a lot of courses. I had to join professional association because I wanted to. I read everything that I could on masonry, about the industry. I had binders full of stuff. I volunteered on various boards. I got, and I'll tell you one really good story. I've joined my local construction association, which is the Grand Valley Construction Association, which now I'm president. I joined the association, and reading through the bulletin, they had a call for, they were looking for volunteers to sit on the board. So I said, I would really like to sit on the board. So I called the current president and said, I'd really like to sit on the board. We've been in business for 4 years, whatever. So I felt we had the credentials. And he said, you know what, like, our association's not really ready for a gal. I don't think so. So I have another word for him, but I thought, you know what? I'm not any gal, and I will be back, because I had a few other boards that I was sitting on. And I'm only saying that because these barriers would not exist today. I mean, people would just never get away with saying the crap that they used to say, or treating people the way they did. So, I mean, that's just kind of mind-blowing that anyone would behave like that. So after 25 years, or close to, in the masonry business with my husband, and now I've got two of my three boys that are in the masonry business. The opportunity came along for me from a phone call from the current chair of the GVCA board, who I sat on that board. I did get on the board. I became their chair in 2000. I became the CCA rep, sat on the CCA executive for 3 years, which was the most tremendous experience of my life. It was a great opportunity to learn from people, from some very powerful women and men from coast to coast. Got very involved in Council of Construction Associations, Board of Governors, you name it. I did it, and I was really glad to do it, because that's really what helped me build up to who I am. So an opportunity came, had a phone call, would you be interested? We have, our current executive director is retiring. That's what they call him. I changed the name to president as soon as I got there. Would you be interested in applying for the position? And I thought, nah, I'm in this family business. My kids are there. I couldn't leave them. What would they do if I wasn't there? The business would totally fall apart. So I mentioned it over dinner one night, and, everybody went, Mom, what a great idea. And I'm not sure if it was that they were just so happy to see the back of me, or anyway, I decided that I would apply, and I got the job, and I was thrilled, because this association, in my opinion, had not done what it could. It had a lot of potential, and it wasn't doing much. So yes, I've got this job. Get in there. First thing I do is, they've got lots of money. I renovate, redecorate. Change my title, I'm the president. Nobody said no. I mean, they just sat there and said, okay. But then one day, it finally dawns on me, I've got 700 members here, close to 700 members. I've worked with many of these firms. I've known them for a lot of years. What if I fail? These are my peers. I'm no longer spending my money making decisions based on my money, or what I think is a good idea. This is their money, and now they're all facing me. It really was a total wake-up call. It actually really kind of scared me, and I don't scare easily. But what a great opportunity for me. I've been able to form a relationship with them, with my board, with my executive, my members. They're the most amazing people on the planet. That I've had a chance to ever work with or ever know. That truly has been amazing. I have had the opportunity to speak to many, many groups, women in skilled trades. I'm a regular presenter. At the beginning, when they come in, halfway through, I go back in, and at the end, at their graduation, I'm there. And I'll help them to get their resumes together, to mentor them, to look for opportunities. Sometimes it's easier for me to pick up the phone and phone my electrician that I know to say, are you looking for an apprentice? Because I've got somebody that would just be terrific, as opposed to that apprentice doing it. And I've gained the trust of my members, and I haven't placed tons of women. I have to tell you, that's not been a huge success, but it doesn't mean that I don't continue to do that. But I can be a catalyst. I can open the door for women. I can give them opportunities. I can give them ways of handling things. And when, I keep that relationship going, and when they get beaten down, you want to say, honey, you got nothing on me. For the journey that I've been through, and for all of us. There's no question about that it certainly is a journey, and it can be very tough. Again, over my head all the time, that's good. That keeps me from drowning. I encourage everybody to try it. always be over your head. Get out of your comfort zone. I mean, how cool is it just to be comfortable all the time? I have a board that's never said no to me. I cannot believe it, but they have never said no to me. And the reason that they haven't is because I come prepared, I know what I'm talking about, and I deliver. Like, I deliver results, there's no question about that. The day I stop delivering is, I guess the day that I'm gone, but that would be fine. So, you need to have impact on anything that you're doing, and I think that all of us have that great opportunity. So, what can I tell you that I think women should do, or anybody should do, in anything that you want to get involved with? Get in over your head. Like, just do it. It's you'll learn how to swim. I mean, and you know what? If you dunk down, so what? So what? You'll come back up again. Like, not everybody hits a home run every time. I always say to my husband, not every night's the 4th of July, honey, but it's true. So, be a risk taker. If you don't try, you won't grow. If you don't try, you really will not grow. If you don't try new food, you won't know if you like it. My poor boys, I really do feel sorry for them. Make an impact on any organization that you do. Be passionate about what you're doing. If you volunteer for something, be there to help facilitate change. You don't have to go in and change and ruin everybody's life and make it your way. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying, have an impact. Volunteer, give the best of what you've got. And the best is just reinvent yourself. Like, keep reinventing yourself, because that in itself is a tremendous opportunity for you to grow. If you do the same thing forever and ever, you're just never going to get any better at it. You just need to reinvent yourself. And there really are tremendous opportunities for women. Don't even think that there are barriers, because there's not. Just say, you know what, there are no barriers here, and I'm just marching through. And, with my counterparts, I do that. And I think that I guess they're just too afraid to stop me or ask, but there are no barriers. Those barriers we put up ourselves. So just, there aren't any. Are there? No, there's not. Follow your dreams. Find what you like. When I said earlier in the beginning, find your fit. Find what works for you. And again, that's not what works for the next guy or the next girl or the next whatever. Find out what fits you and what's the best for you. Because you can do this. You can. You can do anything you want, and you can be anything you want. But wishing won't get you there. It's hard work and it's sacrifice. My mom told me that. She's 86, and I just love her for it. It's just so, those words just resonate with me. So tell your daughters, tell your nieces, tell your neighbors, tell your peers, your friends, that they can do anything that they want to do. They can get into this industry. It's a vibrant industry. It offers a lot. It can be a very promising career, and there are many, many opportunities for you. And when I made this note when you were speaking about your work boots and about that they're, we wear men's work boots. Yeah, I know, like we do, like through this whole thing. And one thing that has really, really resonated with me, and to find equality, you never settle for sameness. And women, I think, typically make that mistake, that I have to be just like a man, otherwise I won't succeed. That's not true. So remember that, if that can help you. And that's really been a guiding force for me, because I've found myself in situations in male-dominated roles, and do you have to act like them in order to get ahead? No. To find your equality, don't settle for sameness. You're unique. Keep that uniqueness. Thank you.
Now we'd like to start with our question and answer period. Please begin your question by stating your name and the company, association, or school you're affiliated with, and to whom you would like to address the question. And please raise your hands anytime anyone has a question.
Okay, my name's Linda Leifner, and I work in commercial property management, but I'm asking actually this question on behalf of my 18-year-old daughter, who is very interested in the construction industry. But, and I know it's such a huge industry, and I don't know half of the jobs that are out there. How would any, well, not even just a young woman, but how would anyone find out what kind of things are out there? And in terms of her post-secondary education, where would be the best places for her to start that would open up the most doors for her in this field? And I don't care who answers.
Well, we could probably all answer a little bit. Like that was me, right? But you know, not at 18. It was me at 30, basically, when I read the article. I was like, that's what I want to do. My program, there are 7 within Ontario that get sponsored every year by the Ontario Women's Directorate. And there were young girls in the program, and a couple of them are working or have worked for Mike Holmes. And it was a very good course because it introduced you to so many different things. So you didn't become an expert carpenter, you didn't get right into plumbing, but we got to do a little bit of everything. And we learned code, you know, where to find the information as well. So it was just a really good foundation. That was the program that I took. But Mary could probably talk about George Brown. One of my instructors at my school also taught at George Brown, and that's definitely, you know, an accredited program.
Well, I guess, I mean, first of all, there are a broad range of opportunities within the residential construction industry, and of course, if you go to what we call the ICI side, there's even more. There are some published lists of some of the occupations within the residential construction industry, and we do that through the Home Builders Association. So, but if you were to go to, for instance, the Build website here in Toronto, and just went through the various categories of membership, that would be a starting point, and then you break down all of those by all of the elements. But what we did at the Home Builders Association is break down all of the various jobs that we create for the building of a single house. And that information is posted on that website too. So there's places where a young person can go and, you know, kind of look at that and get a little bit of a feel. How old is your daughter? 8?
She's actually in the finance program at 12. And
Okay.
finding it very, yeah, I know that this can maybe get me somewhere in construction, but like, do I really want to be a CA for a construction firm sitting in an office all day? No. So she's, you know.
Well, I mean, there are wonderful construction programs, and some of them are relatively short in terms of time spent, which would give an opportunity to kind of feel and touch a variety of things like what you took. At George Brown, we offer everything from a variety of trades courses to various levels of construction management programs. The George Brown website is certainly a very good one to look at and look at the various opportunities of work that are available. And I guess the one message that I would say to her is if she's got an interest in construction, it really doesn't matter where you start. You know, you can take different directions once you're there.
I'm just going to add one more thing. You know what? She should try a habitat build. Like, if she wants to get her feet dirty, you know, put on an apron and get on a habitat build, because that's just a great, really fun way of giving back. Yeah.
Skills Canada is another opportunity for her to visit the booths on the various skills, and they're all there: masonry, carpentry, electrical. They're all there. The other thing that I might add, if she has a background in finance and doesn't want to do financial, her skill would be a great asset if you get into the project management or even the estimating, because obviously she's got an aptitude for numbers and figures, and that would be another, enhance the estimating with the fact that you've got a financial background.
Patricia Williams from Daily Commercial News. My question is from Martha. Does a glass ceiling exist when it comes to women assuming senior management positions in the construction industry? If it doesn't exist, why aren't there more women in these jobs?
You know what, Patricia, I don't think it does exist, and I think that women maybe are not attracted to it to the same degree that they are in other industries. Like, you might just be looking at me like I have a third ear when I say it doesn't exist, but I really don't think it exists if you put put your ducks in a row. You make your application. You make your build yourself to have the qualities that they're looking for. Like, I mean, if I wasn't running my construction association, who knows what I might do? And I don't think that there's really much that would stop me because I now have the knowledge and background. So I think we're going to see a greater shift. There's more and more women that are doing senior project management and handling huge portfolios. I mean, they're very, there's women that are involved in VP of Business Development, and we're good at that. I mean, we're really good at that. So I think that we are seeing more and more of them. To give you concrete examples, I think that PCL has more people in their senior management. In the smaller companies, in terms of what my membership is, I'm seeing that starting to change, especially in the project management end. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
I'm thinking more of the boardroom.
I don't know why, to answer the question, I don't know why they are there. Is it because we're not, trying to get there? Again, you can't just say, I'd really like to be there without saying to Buddy, I want to be there. Well, you'd say, Mr. Buddy, I guess. We need to, I think as women, we need to put it out there that that's what we want to do. And, if you're constantly turned down, find out, okay, I wasn't accepted. Why wasn't I? Tell me what I need to do so that I can fit into that role.
You could address that how when men and women on the job site think about things completely different. And I run into that all the time. Maybe for some of those differences that would...
Well, my first experience, very first was like, what would you know anyway?
Yeah.
What do you mean? And I mean, that was very frustrating because then you'd sort of second guess and say, well, I don't know, maybe I don't know. But that's where the whole confidence in education comes in and understand, for me it was masonry, so I understand a cavity wall, so you went through this is what it is, these are the components, and this is the tolerance and the allowance. And I think, and you can probably answer that one very well too, if you know what you're talking about and you're confident about it, it's it no longer becomes a contest because you know what you're talking about. But that, I mean, it's a challenge. There's no question about it. And maybe because men it's more just construction is something that they do and can't imagine why a woman is there or how they would know anything. So it's a paradigm shift. I think with younger people, and I found that with the employees that we had, the younger ones were much more embracing than the older ones. The old guys were just, couldn't understand why you would even be there. But younger ones don't seem to have a problem with it. So
I can comment too. I mean, one of the things that I run into every day, this week has been a perfect example. Men have a tendency to dump all the pieces out of a box and not read the instructions, to simplify.
Yeah.
You're dealing with that every day of the week. They jump into something without kind of looking at what the end result needs to be. They don't have a tendency, I mean, there are certainly exceptions. There are certainly some of the guys on the site that are, that really look at what should go in what order. But one of my biggest frustrations is that they don't do that. That they just sort of jump in and you end up with people trying to work in the same house, for example, when they shouldn't all have been scheduled there the same day. And then it gets worse as you get towards the end of the house where, where the design people and the finish is coming together, and the boys just want to get on with the next house. They seem to have more interest in, I call it the sandbox and getting the box up and the roof on, but getting them to actually see through those design details and the reason that they were put there, and then act on them and build it that way is always challenging. And we have a tendency to be able to interpret and I have a design background, so we interpret what the customers asked for, and we want to build it that way. The guys always want to ask why and look for the easiest way as opposed to what the end result was envisioned as.
Can I just add one thing though? And, you know, like I said earlier in my speech, I mostly deal with men. But men have always been respectful to me. They've always given me my moment to speak, and they usually do what I ask. However, the reason my company is Two Hot Chicks is because of a woman. So when I first decided to go into the trades business, I put flyers out, and I had advertised interior house painting. This is before my company. And I got a couple of calls, and I put my name, you know, Marissa McTasney, probably a girl, in my neighborhood, and I live in a neighborhood. We all, you know, it's our first home. We all got the dog, the fence, the kids. So we're all about the same age. And we went, you know, I went, you know, to a couple of homes to quote my painting job, because I was gonna be Debbie, right? And I got to the door, and a woman answered the door, and she, wow, okay, so you're here to quote me? Yes, I am. Okay, so who's gonna do the work? I said, well, I am. Oh, is your dad in the truck? And like, you know, this was a woman my age, been educated just like me, but that wasn't the first time I encountered that. So I was like, right, so my logo, you know, it's literally Two Hot Chicks, bum to bum. I mean, we have some boobs here, right? Because I wanted you to know, before you call me, I don't want you to embarrass yourself, and I certainly don't want to be embarrassed. And so it was a really weird barrier for me. And initially, you know, the conversation I have over the pink thing, it's with women. Guys don't care. You know, I have said to them, yes, I've taken over your very last passion. You bet. And I made it pink. Yes, I am sorry. But now you can buy hunting gear that's pink, fishing gear that's pink. You bet we've taken it over. But why? Because it's fun stuff. Why not? But you know, and the men, I would not be here today without men, because the women are not there for me to go to as a resource. That is changing. But really, the people in this room are the ones that have to really bring that message together and stick together and, you know, give each other that hand up.
I know everyone needs to get out there, but we do need to take some time to give a special thank you to each of our wonderful speakers. It's certainly amazing to witness how much they've done and they're doing. They're busy individuals, and they've taken the time, and they manage to continuously take the time to give back. So we really appreciate that, and you're amazing, fantastic role models. Thank you so much, Marissa McTasney, Mary Lawson, and Martha George. And to everyone in the room today, thank you so much to all the attendees for coming out and choosing this seminar over the about 199 other ones available during these 3 days. We trust the presentation helped you in some shape or form with questions and thoughts you had before coming here today, and we hope you enjoyed yourself. On behalf of Etobicoke Ironworks and the show, we'd like to thank the show organizers for having us at this terrific event. My colleague Lynn and I would like to say that it's been a pleasure putting this together for you. And like the ladies mentioned, before we end things off, we must give attention to the immense network and opportunities that we all have available to us through the industry that connects us all. We part hoping that we will all continue to learn from one another, share together, and grow. So thank you everyone for making today a real achievement, because as it's been said, every great achievement was once considered impossible.
I wanted to say ever I wanted to be, and when I graduated from university, entering into a male-dominated field, I found out how hard that was. You two are a little bit older than me, and I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for making it easier for me, and to the rest of us who are going to make it even easier for our children.